Hi everyone. I have come with a wonderful solution to approach our paper. Since it is a vast period, it is addressing a lot of issues and questions can come from anywhere during this period. So as the title goes, the late 20th and 21st centuries, that is from 1939 to 2018. So how will we know what are the important topics during this time? And if they ask questions like gender and sexuality, in the model question paper that they have given in the syllabus, one question is gender and sexuality. How will you answer a question like that? Because you have to address from issues starting from 1939 till 2018. Do you have any idea, I mean, when you think chronologically, how to address, where to locate the answer, how to get those points from your memory bank and copy it to your answer sheet? This is going to be a difficult task if you don't have a chronological order of these things that is there fed in your memory. So this is how I have divided this time period, that is from 1939 to 2018. I will give you the PDF of whatever I have done here, so don't worry, but I'll just read it out how I have divided this time period into 5 different sections. And these 5 different sections, based on the important time stamps in the British history, will help you to remember this time period based on an event or a famous politician or some charismatic person who lived during that era. And please remember, these divisions are completely done by me and it is not there in your syllabus. What I have done here is, by dividing the time that university has given you to study, I am helping both of us, students and the faculty here, to understand and go from the earlier stage to the latest period in a chronological order, with an order. Because if you don't have that order, our brain will be struggling to process the information, the overload of the information we have to study in the syllabus. And like I said, they can ask questions from anywhere during this era. So be prepared, and let me tell you these 5 divisions that I have made here. So the first period, that is from 1939 to 1956. I have chosen this 1956 timestamp because that is the year of the Suez Crisis, the year Britain started going down. The glorious days of Britain was over with this, officially over with this incident. So that's why I have chosen the timestamp 1956 for the first division. So yes, that is division number 1. And the second division is from 1957 till 1979. Now till 1979 there is a period that is right before the era of Margaret Thatcher. Politically it is a troublesome period, economically also it is not a very bright time for Britain. That's why I have a pre-Margaret Thatcher era, and then I have a Margaret Thatcher era, that is from 1980 till 1990. That is the third division. So this is the era of Margaret Thatcher, and in 1990 Margaret Thatcher resigned. So that is the timestamp I have chosen for the third division. And the fourth division is from 1990 till 1997. The year 1997 is important because that is the year Princess Diana died in the car accident. So that's why I have chosen that year, because it was a very tumultuous period in the history of Britain at that time. Everybody was looking at monarchy, British monarchy, and the relevance of British monarchy, because Diana was she was a revolutionary, she was a rebel in the royal family. So then I have chosen after Princess Diana's death till the recent period, that is from 1998 to 2018. So this is how I have divided the time into 5 sections, and I will tell you how I will address these 5 sections covering entire topics that they have mentioned in the syllabus. Just a second. So in Poplawski, John Brannigan section, the 20th and 21st centuries, this is the major portion on which we have to prepare for the exam. So this is the portion in the text of Poplawski where we find answers for all the possible questions they are going to ask for the exam. So let's see, in module 1 they talk about chronology and historical overview of the late 20th and 21st centuries from 1939 to 2015. Now let us see chronology of the period. These are the topics that come in module 1. chronology of the period, which is given in the beginning of this section in the Poplawski text. In the little gray area in a table they have given is, you have to study that because they can ask questions like for example, heterosexuality was decriminalized which year. You should be able to answer which year homosexuality was decriminalized. So chronology, you should be very familiar with the chronology because they can ask any random questions based on that table. So that is chronology of the period. Then Britain and the post-war world, then social, political and economic change, the welfare state, culture and identity, belief and thought. So these are the topics from module 1. And module 2 is about literary overview and texts and issues of the late 20th and 21st centuries, again from 1939 to 2015. Now, literature and the Second World War, realism, modernism, postmodernism, the decline of English literature, the postmodern novel. So this is how the topics go in module 2. And module 3 is about representative text. We have to study 1984 by George Orwell and The Lonely Londoners by Sam Selvon and a few more texts as well. So the sections that I have divided, that is into 5. Let me tell you, see, for example, the first section is from 1939 to 1956. In the first section, I will be dealing with everything that is there in the syllabus. For example, see, from module 1, let's see, chronology of the period. So I'll be covering the chronology of all the major events that happened during this era from 1939 to 1956. Then Britain and the post-war world. So this is a topic that is specifically should be studied from this time. So we don't have to worry about other time periods. When you go to next division, you don't have to address this particular topic. So we will be covering this topic in this section alone. Then social, political and economic change. Now this is a topic that applies to all the divisions because even the latest time we have to study what is happening in the political scenario, in the economic status of Britain. Then the welfare state, culture and identity, belief and thought. Belief and thought is all about religion and the intellectual development, how people thought and wrote in Britain, people from Britain, how they thought and wrote. So these are the things, it is still relevant, right? It is not only relevant for the post-war, post-Second World War era. Even in recent times it is still relevant. So if I am talking about the first period, that is from 1939 to 1956, I will be covering everything and I will also directly go to module 2 and all the topics that are relevant in this era. Then again I will go to module 3 and I will check whether any texts are mentioned which were published during this time, and I will teach that text as well. So this is how we will go. Then I go to the next session. See, the next division is from 1957 to 1979. Then again I will go to the syllabus. From module 1 again I will address all these topics from this time period. And then I will go to module 2. Again I will take all the topics and we will see whether anything I have to teach my students that happened during this time period. And module 3 I will check whether any text published during this time is there in the syllabus, and if there is, I will teach you. So this is how we will finish all the 5 divisions. In this way, it is very easy to remember the events in a chronological order, and when you have the question paper right in front of you and they ask questions, even if it is an essay question, you will be able to remember chronologically all the events that happened, and you will be able to write it, express it in the answer sheet. So this is one way I found to approach this paper. I hope this is it makes sense actually, because otherwise it's going to be a tough task, because we teachers have to study the whole time period, which will take for me at least a month. So after only a month I'll be able to start teaching. It's such a waste of time. So this way I can also prepare and I can also teach you with confidence, and you can also remember in the same order the things happened at that time. So let's study the first section. The first section is from 1939 to Suez Crisis year 1956. So like I said, I'll be addressing everything that is relevant here, and I will also go with the topics that is given in the syllabus. So in that way it is very easy for you to locate the content, locate the points also to prepare for the exam. So let me see 1939 to 1956 chronology. In module 1 we are talking about chronology. So I please ask you to go look at the Poplawski text, and if you can, please remember, study by heart all the major events and the year it happened, at least year and the events. They have also mentioned major books published in that time, but at least remember the year and the event. That's enough, more than enough for the exam. So after chronology, in the same section chronology, you have British and post-war world. So let's see what all things come in there. In the PDF that I am going to give you, I have copied from the text Poplawski relevant portions. So you don't have to read the entire Poplawski text. Here I have copied the text, and I also have added a few other points from several websites, and I have made it in an essay form. So it is too much, yes, you don't have to study the entire text here, but by reading it, the content, the points that are going to be there, to stay there in your head, will be more than enough to instantly prepare an essay based on the questions they are going to ask. So let's see, the war and the winning of the war made a deep and lasting impression on the British culture. So British and the post-war world, this is the first section that we are going to talk about. The post-war Britain, post-Second World War Britain. I told you that Britain, the British people always had this idea about British nationality, the British personality, the British sense of humor, and the entire British identity. They thought the world was buying that false myth, the myth of the ideal British man, the good British man. See, British identity was some sort of there were two sides, right? For every coin there are two sides. So one side, Britain appeared like this savior of the world from the evil Nazis, and they are the angels, that kind of persona. And in the other side, they are the colonizer. They are these people who exploit and torture these colonies and the people from the colonies, the other with a capital O. And they are the light bearers of racism. So yeah, there are two sides into the image of Britain, the British image, the British idea, the British global image. But Britain preferred the good side. Britain always had this idea about themselves, that we are good, and we are people who support civilization, westernization, the western whatever, the idea of peace and everything, and the western authority to make everything right, make everything correct, and regulate everything, regulate everything. So this was what they thought, but everybody knew that it was America's and Russia's army which won the war. So there was a decline in the popular image of the British man, the English man in front of the world. So we know that with the 1956 what happened, that Britain had to listen to America. When America had special interest in Middle East, America decided to support Egypt and its president Nasser. And America asked Britain to withdraw from the invasion attempts. Israel had already invaded Egypt. So British and French companies and their troops, they had to withdraw from the attempt to capture Suez Canal. So everybody came to know that Britain actually owned a lot of money to America, and now America is the superpower. America and Russia became the superpower. Britain, although it was a superpower, it had already started declining from the beginning of the 20th century. It didn't happen with the Suez Canal. It had already started with by losing colonies one after the other. But the major hit, when it hit rock bottom, that was 1956, because everybody came to know. See, that's it, right? When something, a scandalous thing is going on, at least as long as that is a secret, we can handle it. But when the public knows, then we are no more hiding it, we are no more pretending it. So the image of Britain came to an end globally as a all powerful iconic figure came to an end in 1956 Suez crisis. So let's see what happened again in the post-war Britain. So yes, we have so many colonies losing, and yeah, British government worked with France and Israel to recapture Suez Canal. I am just explaining here the Suez crisis also, because if they ask a question, explain Suez crisis, you should be able to answer. So I have given here details of Suez crisis, what happened in Suez Canal, and everything I have described here. Please make use of these notes. And also how America and Russia became the superpower, and Britain lost a lot of its power and influence in the world because of the Cold War between Russia and the US. So this is what I explain in the first topic in the module 1, that is British and the post-war world. Now the second section, that is social, political and economic change and the welfare state. So these are the two other topics that are there in the syllabus. Now in contrast to the mass unemployment, food queues and slum housing of the depression in the 1930s, we all know the 1930s was the time of depression. The Grapes of Wrath, all that novel, it was published during that time, you can check it out. The government proved capable during the war of organizing full employment. See, you have a welfare, you can see that Britain suddenly protecting its working class from capitalism by giving them ration, giving them food and housing allowances and everything. Suddenly there was a lot of helping towards working class. See, Winston Churchill, who became the prime minister who was the prime minister during the Second World War, he lost his office when Labour Party wins the election next time in 1945. And what happens with the 1945 election? The Labour Party, as the name suggests, they are there for the working class, and they started helping the working class. So what happens when in a capitalist society, when all the money is given away in helping the working class, usually it affects the economy, right? It affects the economy. So there was no creating of the wealth, it was only spending of the wealth for the first time, at least inside the state. Britain was no more looking at the colonies that they had or trying to protect the colonies that they had. Britain for the first time started concentrating, helping its own people, her own people. So Britain became this welfare state. That's why they have mentioned welfare state. Now the consequences were not very good, because Labour Party's decisions to help the working class did not help the country's economy very well. It helped the people, but money was getting over very quickly because there were a lot of working class, unemployed working class. So in order to give away wealth, you need to create wealth in some other form. Only then there will be a balance. So the country needed a change in the attitude, in the political attitude. So you can see that the Conservative Party wins the election after the Labour Party's period. That also I have mentioned here. See, in 1951 there was a festival of Britain happened. So I will talk about this 1951 festival of Britain in the next video. So when the Conservative Party won the election in 1951, people really were fed up with the idea of giving away all the wealth to the people, even though the people themselves elected the party. See, they wanted the idea of, they wanted creation of wealth. So Conservative Party promised people more ways to create more wealth to the country, because otherwise they knew that by giving away a lot of money, the country, the banks will be emptied soon, but other than that nothing else will happen. So 1951 Conservative Party comes, and like the name indicates, there was some sort of conservatism during the 50s in England. We will see that, because see, they were not modern. The Conservative Party was not modern at all. The 50s have since become known as a decade of ideological conservatism. So always remember, this 50s period in Britain was known as a period of ideological conservatism. What are the features of ideological conservatism? In ideological conservatism, you are going back to the conventional lifestyle. See, it was also the time feminism was started flourishing because of the post-war period and the lack of men in the industries, women started working, the fashion change, everything I told you. But then again, this baby boomers era, they wanted women to take up the conventional roles, you know, the housewives roles, the mother's role, the naive women's role, so that, you know, they can get married and start have family, because men are now back. Now there is no need of women outside in the factory. So